Magnezone needs to overfarm, exit this matchup with energy. We're going to farm up, throw the mirror shot, which will be moving Abomasnow from the field of play. I'm looking top right. If Gastrodon returns, we are knocking out with a wild charge. The opponent thinking about it, back out comes Gastrodon. Shiny Shadow Magnezone is a Gastrodon counter confirmed. You heard it here first. The opponent sends out Drapion Magnezone, only 2 off the wild charge, and Magnezone absolutely popping off. Welcome back to the channel. Yesterday I returned to work, this time on day shift. I've been at my job for almost 10 years. I recently got promoted, but I'm still on that horrible days-nights rotation. Yesterday I managed a glorious 1 hour 45 minutes sleep, and I was sat there scrolling my phone like an absolute potato. I was on X and I saw someone post a team that I thought I can run as a triple shadow team. There's no point going back to sleep at this point. Let's head to battle. Very questionable if I'm being brutally honest, and something I would not recommend. I made a few adjustments between the team Executor was able to hit Legend with and the team that I'm running. Of course, I opted for the Shadow Gliscor over the regular variant, and I stuck with Poison Sting over Ice Fang. The main thought process is Poison Sting generates energy quicker. I just want to force shields down and try and nuke the absolute shit out of everything with Magnezone. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, I see Gastrodon in the lead position, a very nice lead for Gliscor. We're a flyer, so we are double resisting the mud slap damage. As the opponent's opting to stay in, you need to recognise 2 things. Firstly, they're going to have Water Pulse, which will hit for super effective, and secondly, if they're staying in such a god-awful matchup, they have something else that likely doesn't want to see Gliscor in the back. Out comes Abomasnow. To my surprise, Aerial Ace gets little respect. We're going to send out Drapion and commit to the full Poison Sting farm down. Drapion does take neutral from Ice, whereas Magnezone would fully wall Abomasnow, but of course I'm going to send out Drapion here as opposed to Magnezone, as I don't want to switch lock my zone, which would get absolutely clapped by this returning Gastrodon. I'm actually here going to go for double Aqua Tail. The reason why is one crunch won't be lethal, and double Aqua Tail will either force a Protect Shield or cleanly knock out Gastrodon, the opponent looking to save 2 shields, whatever's in the back, and that happens to be Spirit Tomb. A 2-shielded Spirit Tomb is somewhat scary for me. I send out Magnezone. We're able to reach the mirror shot on the charge attack priority. Here I'm essentially fishing for a debuff. Unfortunately, no debuff does come through, and the opponent is going to have to full send a Shadow Ball to pick up the knockout. Opponent fire off the Rock Tomb, we pivot back into Gliscor, and all we need to do here is reach the back-to-back Aerial Aces. The first Aerial Ace should be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Gliscor going to reach Aerial Ace number 2, and we're off to a very quick 1-0 start. GG's to that opponent. So as soon as I saw this team, I was well aware that this team will function as an ABB team, where if I don't see a ground type in the lead, I am going to need to pivot out into Drapion, looking to bait said ground type out. In the next battle, we see someone running Home Slice Henry's Legend team. Firstly, shout out the GOAT, Home Slice Henry, able to be the first YouTuber back-to-back seasons to hit Legend. This is going to be a Vesper Queen in the back, so as long as I maintain alignment, we are off to the races. I attempted a Shadow Punch catch into Drapion. My catch attempt was unsuccessful, but as a non-shadow, we can tank a Dynamic Punch. We invest a Protect Shield, play out the 1-shield scenario, and as if by magic, there is the Queen. We're going to send out Magnezone. Magnezone, a complete wall to the energy. The opponent doesn't want that work, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see Drifblim in the lead position. You can run Night Slash on this thing. I've got actually no idea what Executor was running. We're opting for Aerial Ace and Earthquake, essentially because that is the moveset I already had on this Pokemon. I remember this battle. I attempted to catch an Icy Wind, and out comes Licky, far too thicky. Here you're going to see they Shadow Ball me. I think you're only Shadow Balling because you likely have twin nukes of Earthquake and Shadow Ball respectively. With that in mind, the opponent baited. I am going to look to maintain alignment, or actually flip alignment, as I'd much rather Magnezone into Gliscor. That isn't going to take double super effective. Here, I'm going to attempt to throw on CMP to a Body Slam, but as they Shadow Ball me again, they likely don't have it. So I could have overfarmed them for a good time, and instead I end up throwing on alignment like an absolute potato. I am often my own harshest critic, but I do think it makes sense there, as if I would have played the 1-shield and got Body Slammed, I'd have been super salty. The opponent sends out their own Drapion, we make the pivot back into Gliscor. I attempt to throw the Aerial Ace, but get the wham, bam, combo play, and 1 hour 45 minutes sleep, we are making some god-awful decisions in this battle, and potentially we're throwing the game. I'm going to send up Magnezone, look to fully Volt Switch farm down. The opponent is going to Icy Wind, but if I don't shield this, I'm going to get Astonished farm down afterwards. Magnezone's bulk about to be put to the test. Can we get that full farm down before they reach another move? Yes, we can. The opponent didn't bank an Aqua Tail. They're one short. They actually get denied here. I'm kind of thinking to myself, was that denial important? I think I actually probably would have died to a double resisted poison sting. Game state absolutely horrendous, but this time I am the beneficiary. Heading into the next battle, we see Giratina in the lead position. I'm going to attempt to catch a Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, the opponent doesn't even build up to it, and I need this in case they've got a ground type, so I end up investing in protection on Ominous Wind. Again, not the best decision making on my part. Once again, in fairness to myself, if I don't shield that Ominous Wind, the Shadow Claws would have put me deep in the red health range. With that charge move tanked as well, we attempt the next Ominous Wind catch on Drapion catch attempt. Unsuccessful, and out comes a Force Palm Lucario. We reach the second Aqua Tail. This forces the opponent's final protection. They're going to need to throw. The opponent looks for that full Force Palm farm down. The super spammy Scorpion says no. Reach the next Aqua Tail. Down goes Lucario. And we have managed to force all shields down. Back out comes Giratina. Gliscor going to fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace won't be lethal, but will leave the opponent low. As I say, switching to Drapion, I know Gastrodon hit the field of play. I'm already calling the opponent isn't running Gastrodon. So with that in mind, we're saving our final shield for Magnezone. Out comes Shadow Drapion, something we can absolutely wreck with a wild charge. The opponent recognise they cannot win the match and they concede. In the next battle, we see Togekiss in the lead position. We save switch into Drapion, and this time out comes a Bullet Punch Lucario. If I was on Ice Fang here, we'd be a lot slower to these charge moves, but the Poisoning variant really excels here, as we are so bloody spammy, taking only 8 turns to each of these Aqua Tails. The opponent here does me a huge favour throwing on CMP. I'm more than happy to shield, I'm not on 1 HP, and the opponent's going to have to go down both Protect Shields if they want to maintain alignment. If my opponent would have thrown one sooner, I probably would have let Drapion go down. If I got the opportunity to get Magnezone on that stupid fairy, you better believe I'm going to at least fight for that alignment. Out comes Spirit Tomb. I send out Gliscor. Gliscor going to fire off the Aerial Ace. We know the opponent's going to pivot at one point. I am looking top right. The opponent actually continued to stay in. Magnezone with a shield advantage will clean up. Throw whatever you like, trainer. They go for the Rock Tomb bait. We pivot into Magnezone. The opponent continued to stay in. This is likely a Rock Tomb, but let me tell you, no bait is ever saving this opponent's fate. They go for the Rock Tomb debuff. Send back out Togekiss. Wink on. Very simple. Farm up to the double wild charge. One going to be massive overkill on Togekiss and even debuffed. If you think Spirit Tomb surviving, you must be absolutely mad. Magnezone hits like a truck and Wild Charge is going to be all she wrote. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Hisui and Samurott in the lead positions. This thing's got access to Icy Wind. I'm going to look to catch the Icy Wind onto Drapion. Once again, checking for said ground type. The opponent continued to stay in. We're now debuffed. Everything's resisted, but this thing is so bloody glassy. Even a debuff Crunch will lose some decent neutral damage. Crunch gets the opponent down to around the 3rd health, and out comes Vespiquen. We're going to fire off one further Crunch. Crunch won't do much debuff, but all chip damage is welcome. The opponent's going to get a massive Fury Cutter farm down. I've actually got an Aerial Ace bank. I'll be honest, I've got no idea who wins CMP. I assume Gliscor, and I'm also got no idea if one single Aerial Ace, a move I call Aerial Ass, will be lethal. I definitely should have overfarmed a little bit here. We're just going to throw the Aerial Ace, and to my surprise, it actually picks up the knockout. The opponent did bank an Icy Wind to make the catch and the sneak onto Magnezone. Icy Wind is resisted, but still did a decent chunk of damage. As I was reluctant to shield a resisted move on Magnezone, this is going to be the classic Jamie Finn battle that I showcased, where I die with 2 shields intact. Once again, unsuccessful on the Mirror Shot debuff. We fire off the Wild Charge. The opponent, clearly smarter than me, invests both Protect Shields. I need this Aerial Ace to be lethal to have any chance of winning this game, but we're getting a harsh reminder of why I call this move Aerial Ass. It doesn't get the job done, and I die with 2 shields intact. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Staraptor in the lead position. Holy spice. I say switch into Drapion and bait out Gastrodon. Nice to bait this thing out. I end up throwing on CMP. I'll be honest, I actually over-tapped there. But if I would have thrown one sooner, it would have been suboptimal time. And it kind of is what it is. We don't get DRE. So we don't get off the Aqua Tail. But nice to bait this thing out. You can see I am lagging. So we go for the little switch out of the app. Hoping not to get one turn bring in. My opponent goes straight for a Body Slam here. Not even building up to the potential Water Pulse. So that in mind, we don't need to shield. I'm just going to over-farm. I look to fire off the Aerial Ace before the second Body Slam's reached. And then it is Magnezone time. I am spamming the switch. Magnezone hits the field of play and out comes Drapion. Whilst these poison things are double resisted, an argument could be made that I should shield an Aqua Tail, as last time I died with 2 shields, but clearly I'm a slow learner. We tank the first Aqua Tail, does quite a lot of damage. I'm just going straight Mirror Shot in this battle as these Volt Switches are tearing through Drapion's HP. Finally I invest the Protect Shield, although Magnezone is already deep in the red health range. We're now at the double Mirror Shot. The opponent can't really afford to shield this. Magnezone might be low, but should still put in work. Out comes Staraptor. We get off 3 Volt Switches, leaving them in the red health range. As the opponent's still got a shield intact, we're going to need to try and sand attack farm down a flyer, double resisted. We're just about able to get the job done and take that game. Again in that battle, I should have thrown the wild charge then, just hit him with the aerial ace to the face. But it is what it is, we just about managed to get the job done. A tired Jamie Finn is probably one of the worst battlers you will ever see. In the next battle, we see Magnezone in the lead position. I make a rare good play today. Checking the fast move, they're on Mud Slap. I'm going to attempt to snipe with Poison Stings. Oh, that is a bad play. Unsuccessful. I lose almost all of my Drapion. Honestly, what was I doing today? Some of these plays, I'm just looking at it thinking, what was I thinking? I probably wasn't thinking, to be honest. Had my tunes on. You can see in the top right, the blue. I don't know what I'm listening to at this point. But we are listening to some tunes and essentially just tapping and hoping for the best. The opponent reveals a Abomasnow in the back, which definitely was not what I was expecting. ABB Grass and triple weak to fire. Where is my Heatran that I sent to Callum the other day? If this opponent sees Heatran, it is definitely a top left. This team comp from my opponent is completely wild. They're triple weak to fire, ABA weak to both fighting and steel as well. So if they see a Lucario, they're also cooked. But sometimes unbalanced teams that do get the job done. I anticipated this mirror shot removing them from the field of play, but actually leaves them on fractional HP. That's definitely one sand attack range. We now find ourselves in the bait game. Swift won't be lethal. Wild Charge is resisted, but will knock me out. I think I should always call this move. We shield up the Swift, reach the aerial ace, losing CMP. We're going to get Wild Charge to the face, and this mad team is going to beat my team. Probably because I'm a potato, but GG's to that opponent regardless. In the next battle, we see Gliscor into Drapion. The sand attacks hit him for super effective, but in turn, the Aqua Tail would hit me for super effective. We're able to catch onto our own Drapion. The Aqua Tail only hits for neutral. Out comes Gliscor. We will outpace to the Aqua Tail. How a game state once again looks to screw me. We end up over tapping. Honestly, I'm not playing particularly well now, but I don't even care. Half the time I'm not even counting. I think this game is such a fucking joke. It's not competitive, and I honestly don't even care anymore. Thankfully, this opponent was running Sandtomb, and Sandtomb was easily survivable for Drapion. Well, not easily, but I did actually get off my Aqua Tail. Then reveal they're on Sandtomb and Night Slash. That is a wild moveset. We tank the Night Slash over farm, fire off the aerial ace, removing them from the field of play. The opponent then pivots into a Abomasnow. We bank the aerial ace, make the pivot into Magnezone, and bait Drapion back into the arena. We fire off the mirror shot. This move needs to be respected. The opponent looks to call the bait, but that certainly doesn't help him out. I can now go for the one shield. Full Volt Switch farm down, and this Abomasnow is going to have a very tough time. We're trying to remove my Magnezone from the field of play. Back out comes Abomasnow, instantly greeted with the mirror shot. Hello, trainer. What is this opponent saving these shields for? The opponent's already found himself in the red health range with 2 shields to hide behind. Weather Ball doesn't get the job done. We're going to overfarm, fire off yet another mirror shot. The opponent recognises they probably should have shielded earlier, tank the damage, and die with 2 shields. Heading into the next battle, we see Licky, a far too thicky, in the lead position. We're going to farm up, make the catch onto Drapion, what I hope is to be a Shadow Ball. Nice. The opponent continued to stay in, then up to fire off a Body Slam. Body Slam, even when it gets same type attack bonus for a normal type, not all that threatening. We're going to throw 4 Poison Stings and the Crunch. At this point, if the opponent tanked this, I can just under tap my Aqua Tail, winning CMP. You can see that looks like a charge attack priority. However, you're quickly going to see that Aqua Tail forced the protection and it wasn't. The opponent just got denied there. How? Don't ask. Honestly, what is going on with this game? We're able to force ourselves shield advantage here. I'm going to send out Gliscor. We're going to tank a move and try and sand attack farm down. Sand attacks, even from a ground type, just don't do anything. The damage output is ridiculously bad. I'm going to shield at the next Body Slam because I've got so much energy. Gliscor leaves fairly low, but with like 100 energy intact. Out comes Dustoir. We full send the Earthquake. Earthquake almost picks up the 1-hit KO. We pivot into Magnezone. Unable to Volt Switch farm down before the Shadow Punches reach. I'm happy to shield this up, and hopefully whatever's in the back will die to a Wild Charge. Out comes Big Barrel. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, this time we see Abomasnow in the lead position. Definitely not what Gliscor wants to see. Taking double super effective from the Powder Snow as we say switch into Drapion, and out comes Gastrodon. Nice to bait this thing out so Magnezone doesn't have to see it. We're going to fire off the Crunch. Crunch goes unshielded. I'm going to settle for the Aqua Tail here. Aqua Tail won't be lethal, but potentially puts you in a range where we can sand attack farm down afterwards. The opponent actually invests a Protect Shield, meaning they've probably got Water Pulse. But one Water Pulse is survivable. Opponent go for the Body Slam bait. This could be a Water Pulse. I'm thinking, surely you don't bait twice. But nah, this opponent, like, I'm going to continue to masturbate all fucking day long. I don't like cats. I'm going to kill them all. This is again only a Body Slam. Potentially now we can sand attack farm down. The opponent recognises it aggressively. Send out a Bombers. Now we fire off the Aerial Ace, forcing the final Protect Shield. And it is now the UFO time. We can tank any one move. In this matchup, it's paramount to have residual energy good to go, as Gastrodon will be returned. I need to knock it out immediately. I'm kind of obliged to shield at this resisted weather ball. Feels bad, man, but we need to try and keep some health on Magnezone. We overfarm, fire off the Mirror Shot. From this range, Mirror Shot will be moving a Bomber Snow from the field of play. I'm looking top right. If Gastrodon returns, I don't think Mirror Shot will be lethal, so I'm going to wild charge it. Potentially Mirror Shot would have got the job done, but better to be safe than sorry. Magnezone fires off the wild charge, moving Gastrodon from the field of play. Out comes Drapion. Magnezone still not done. Gonna fire off the wild charge. Wild charge leaves him on fractional HP, and this is game over. The opponent does dump their energy. Aqua Tail picks up the knockup. We can send attack farm down and take that game. In the next battle, we see Gliscor into Dusknoir. So of course I'm going to look to pivot at some stage. This one is on Hex. We attempt to catch the Shadow Punch onto Drapion, and once again my catch attempt is unsuccessful. The opponent fire off the Dynamic Punch, then opt to stay in. So I'm going to throw one Poison Sting and the Crunch and look to force the first Protect Shield of the game. The opponent completely sacked Dusknoir, which more than works for me. Out comes Vesper Queen. Vesper Queen, it looks like Fury Cutter farm down, unable to achieve it before the Crunch is reached. Crunch gets the opponent below half health. Gliscor, we've already seen, takes quite a lot of damage from the Power Gem, whereas Magnezone should fully wall this moveset, although let's not get things too twisted. Everything hits Magnezone for a lot of damage. Opponent continue to stay in. That works for me. I'm just going to shield up the next one. Fully Volt Switch farm down. Out comes the barrel, and once again the opponent is going to concede the match. In the next battle, this time we see Vesper Queen in the lead position. A bit of a scuffed matchup, to be honest. Both opponents hitting each other for resisted with their quick move. Power Gem does decent damage to me, and Aerial Ace does about the same, to be honest. Despite it being super effective, it's just a crappy move. We fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace goes unshielded. We make the pivot into Drapion and check for said ground type. The opponent goes some chipping of action. They fire off the X Scissor, and no ground type enters the arena. Instead, out comes the barrel, one Poison Sting and the Crunch for optimal fast move time, and the opponent here is going to be forced to dump their energy immediately or reach another Crunch. Drapion has done its job. I'm going to elect to let it go down. I can now send out Magnezone and look to get ahead in energy. I'm probably going to have to go for the one shield and farm down, unless 2 Volt Switches are lethal. However, actually 2 Volt Switches get the job done. Magnezone gets a very nice energy lead, and out comes Spirit Tomb. I could reset this debuff. We're going for a Mirror Shot bait. Not a huge fan of baiting, but it kind of works out for me. Here I'm in a tough spot. I think I should shield this move, but I'm reluctant to shield. I'm thinking the opponent can never ever fast move beat me down. Uh-oh, yes they can. Surely we don't get Fury Cutter farm down. We'll leave on fractional HP, but definitely in one Sucker Punch range. Again, I don't really know what I was doing in these battles. Very poorly played, and the opponent able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle. Come on, washed up Jamie Finn, you've got to do better than this, lad. This has been an absolute shit show to this point. In the next battle, we see Dusknoir in the lead position. We again attempt to catch a Shadow Punch onto Drapion. The catch attempt wasn't the cleanest, but the opponent did throw the Shadow Punch, which is resisted, and then send out Lucario. We fire off first Aqua Tail. The opponent then throw on CMP. I could shield, but I don't really need switch. They actually fire off the power-up punch, which works for me. Again, we're going to try and prevent one-turn bring-in and send out Gliscor. Gliscor can overfarm, fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace will be moving them from the field of play. Down goes Lucario. The opponent sends out Drapion on Ice Fang. We bank the Aerial Ace, make the pivot into Magnezone. The opponent continues to stay in, which I think is a mistake on their part. These Ice Fangs are resisted, whereas the Hexes would at least hit for neutral. The opponent sends out Dusknoir. This time I'm not baiting, I'm just full sending the Wild Charge, trying to sneak it through 2 Protect Shields. It goes unshielded, removing them from the field of play. Back out comes Drapion. I'm going to invest a Protect Shield here. The opponent fire off the Aqua Tail. We farm up to the double Mirror Shot. That wasn't a CMP tie, so the first one should be forcing the opponent. First Protect Shield again, that's not CMP. We're going to fire off his next mirror shot. Mirror shot will be forcing the opponent's final protection. We'll give the opponent the wham, bam, combo play, serve out the Big Mac and the fries, and aerial ace is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow with Barrel in the lead position. I'm going to instantly pivot into Drapion and check for said ground type. No ground type hits the field of play. Instead, out comes Vesper Queen. So far, that ABA weak to Magnezone, which you'd think would be nice, but I'm thinking they've probably got a Magnezone counter in the back, so switch might be kind of important. However, the issue with Drapion is we don't actually win the one shield scenario. But the more shields we can get down, the more effective Magnezone will be in that endgame scenario. The opponent going to fire off the X's and remove me from the field of play. I could of course Volt Switch farm down, but I think what I'm actually going to do first is send out Gliscor, tank a charge move, bank this energy, and then snipe. Ensuring I've got a charge move banked for the endgame scenario. Opponent fire off the power gem. Here comes Zone, able to Volt Switch farm down. The barrel cannot return, so out comes Gliscor. Not really what Magnezone wants to see, as it is a ground type, but at least this one isn't running the oppressive Mud Slap. Mirror Shot, a pretty trash move, but does add up, and even these single resisted Volt Switches do add up over time. The second Mirror Shot also goes unshielded, and here the opponent makes a huge mistake. Throwing instantly, giving me 4 free turns. They fire off the Night Slash. They get the boost, but unable to reach another move. Here, I have to throw a suboptimal timing, as if I went for 2, the opponent could fire off a Surf. At this point, the opponent receiving the energy for the Surf, were able to make the catch back onto Gliscor. The opponent undercharge will be able to fire off the aerial ace. They fully charge it. Magnezone able to outpace now to the wild charge, and Magnezone is on cleanup duty. GG's that opponent. Heading into the final battle of today's video, we see Lucario in the lead position. The opponent save switch into Spiritomb. Here I think you should go some chippity actions. If you go straight into Drapion, it's quite an awkward matchup. You can see the aerial ace landing. Means we can tank the Rock Tomb. The opponent is going to have to make the first shielding decision of the game. The opponent fire off the Rock Tomb. Drapion withstands the damage. Going to overfarm and look to fire off the Crunch. Crunch actually forces the Protect Shield. Drapion undeterred. Going to reach the next Crunch. Now if the opponent wants Switch, that is going to cost them both Protect Shields. The opponent go all in on Spiritomb, setting up Magnezone with a 2-0 shield advantage. Even if they've got a Gastrodon, Gliscor just going to clean this battle up. So I'm going to send out Magnezone, go for the 1 shield, a full Volt Switch farm down. The opponent actually falls on the Shadow Ball. I was almost certain that's going to be a Rock Tomb bait. Opponent send Lucario back into the arena. There's no need to get too hasty. I can shield once. I'm just going to continue to farm up and eventually throw a Wild Charge. Actually scrap that. Look at the Volt Switch damage. Just a Mirror Shot will get the job done. Mirror Shot going to remove Lucario from the field of play. Out comes Drifblim. Drifblim going to be straight in and straight out. And that is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. I think this team's phenomenal. We managed to go very positive despite me playing very suboptimal in my very sleep deprived state. If you're looking for a strong team, I think this one is very strong and it's also incredibly fun. What is not fun about using Magnezone? You just nuke the shit out of everything, mostly not named Gastrodon. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, my battle submission form is linked down below. And as always, huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.